All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about two things that seem like they're from completely different worlds: the psychology of the human mind under stress and the weird, sometimes unpredictable behavior of artificial intelligence. And what's wild is that they share a really similar problem. And, believe it or not, a really similar solution.
I love this quote because it gives us this perfect metaphor to hang on to, being stuck in a mental movie. You know, when someone's having a flashback or is in the grips of severe anxiety, their mind isn't really here in the present. It's replaying the past or spinning out about the future. They're basically trapped inside their own head, forced to watch a movie they can't turn off.
So, here's the big question, right? What in the world does this deeply human psychological experience have to do with large language models and all the tech that's changing our world? Well, as it turns out, a whole lot. So first, let's really dig into the human side of this. This whole idea of being stuck in a mental movie is a very, very real thing for people dealing with trauma or intense anxiety. Their sense of reality kind of becomes untethered from what's actually happening in the here and now.
The solution, or at least a powerful tool, is something called grounding techniques. And the goal is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. It's all about pulling your awareness out of that internal movie, out of the past, out of the future, and anchoring it, like with a rope, firmly in the physical reality of this exact moment. It's all about reconnecting to the here and now.
So how do you actually do that? How do you build that bridge back to reality when your mind is somewhere else? Well, one of the most well-known and frankly brilliant ways to do it is a technique called the 5-4-3-2-1 method.
It's so clever because it forces you to use your five senses to take inventory of your immediate environment. You literally stop and name 5 things you can see. Then you focus on 4 things you can feel or touch. Then listen for 3 distinct sounds. Identify 2 smells, and finally, acknowledge 1 thing you can taste. By deliberately engaging your senses like this, you basically interrupt that mental movie and force your brain to pay attention to what's physically actually happening around you. And the results? They're pretty much immediate. It just shatters that cycle of worry, it helps you get a handle on intense emotions, and the best part is you can do it absolutely anywhere, anytime. You don't need anything special. It's like a mental toolkit you can carry around to find your footing.
Okay, hold that thought. Now we're going to make the big pivot. What happens when a machine gets lost in its own movie? Now, an AI's movie isn't made of memories or fears. It's made of the trillions of data points it was trained on. And when it gets stuck in there, lost in that data, it starts to do something we call hallucinating.
An AI hallucination is when a model just spits out information that's plain wrong or totally nonsensical or just completely disconnected from reality. But it says it with all the confidence of a college professor stating a fact. It's not trying to lie to you, it's just lost. It's become disconnected from any verifiable external truth.
And this is just a perfect example of what that can look like. This is from a real Wikipedia discussion where someone used an AI to argue a point. Just listen to that tone. It's aggressive, it's weirdly self-righteous. The AI is just mimicking patterns of argumentation it has seen, but with zero real understanding. The result is this bizarre defensive rant.
And here's another one from that same conversation. The language is just, it's so strange. It's this jumble of metaphors about floods and oceans and erosion that kind of sounds deep if you don't think about it, but it's totally meaningless. This is a classic sign of an AI that's come unmoored from how people actually talk. This slide shows it perfectly. This is how an AI can get a core concept 100% backward. On the left, you've got Wikipedia's actual policy. No original research. It means you must use published sources. But the AI on the right, it hallucinates the exact opposite, claiming originality is what's required. It is confidently, totally wrong because it doesn't understand anything. It's just remixing words.
So, just like a person needs a way to step out of their mental movie, this hallucinating AI needs a way to step out of its internal movie of training data. And guess what? There's a technique for that, too. It's called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or just RAG.
RAG is basically a system that stops the AI from just making things up. Before it's allowed to answer your question, it's forced to go look up the relevant facts from a specific, trusted, up-to-date source of information. It's literally the AI equivalent of your teacher telling you, go check your sources before you open your mouth. And look, there's that word again. It grounds the AI. RAG literally grounds the AI's response in an external reality.
By forcing it to base its answers on a specific set of documents, say your company's internal PDFs or emails, it dramatically reduces the chance that it's going to go off the rails and invent things.
So how does this actually play out? Well, it's kind of like a three-step dance. First, all that trusted information gets organized into an index. Then, when you ask a question, the system retrieves only the most relevant snippets from that index, and only then, as the final step, does the language model get to generate a response, using those retrieved facts as its foundation.
So let's just take a step back. We've looked at two totally different kinds of minds, one biological, one artificial. And we've discovered they share this fundamental problem. They can both lose touch with reality. And even more amazing, they've both found a way to get back. At the end of the day, this is the big takeaway. It doesn't matter if it's a person using their senses to get through a panic attack or an AI using a database to make sure it's not making up facts. The core principle is exactly the same. To be reliable, to be coherent, to be trustworthy, you have to be able to connect with the here and now.
And that kind of leaves us with this one last fascinating thought to chew on. We are literally designing safeguards for our most advanced technology to keep it from getting lost inside its own head. And we're using the same fundamental ideas we use to manage our own minds. So what does that tell us about minds themselves and about the future we're building with these new forms of intelligence?